Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have our very first look at the new Tier 8 French battleship, the Alsace, or the Alsace. It's not the Alsace that I called it previously, it's Alsace, or Alsace. I can't remember which, it's either Al or All, but it ends in Zos. So, let's get Zossy. We've got our commander, we've got Robert Gijard, we've got Azure Lane, Scharnhorst, and Paolo de Revel as our inspirations. We have Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits, Marksmanship, and Reaching Out XXL with Will to Rebuild as our legendary perk. For the equipment, we are running Aiming Systems Mod 1, Steering Gears Mod 2, we are running Concealment System Mod, and we are running the Main Battery Mod 3. Okay, we are fully upgraded. And we don't get a chance to use the spotter plane, so I have swapped out the catapult fighter, because it's pretty much useless, for the enhanced secondary targeting module, which is actually nice because that's going to allow us to utilize our decent secondaries in this. But it also comes with an engine boost, so keep that in mind. So it gives us an extra 8% engine or maximum speed, which comes in handy. We are running the Italian Unity flag just because it looks like a Spartan, kind of, if you squint just right. And then, of course, we are running the new Too Hot to Handle camo, which is freaking gorgeous. I ain't gonna lie, I like this camo a lot. But either way, survivability, we got 74,700 hit points with a 44% torque reduction, which is really nice. Main battery is 380 millimeter 45 caliber MLE 1935s. You get 12 of them, reaching out to 19.4 kilometers, reloading in 26.6 seconds, which is actually not that great for these guns. These are the same guns that you have on like Richelieu and Jean Bart that reload in like 20 to 21 seconds, or you could go even faster than that if you go Megalomania, but I don't recommend it for this because you need accuracy. 180-degree turn time, though, pretty great at 30.8 seconds, and that's with the debuff, considering we're running the main battery mod 3, so keep that in mind. HE shell maximum damage, 5,400 with a 36% chance to set fires, but let's be honest, you're not going to be shooting HE that often out of this. The AP, the French magic bullets, is real. AP maximum damage, 14,399, because reasons. Had to be slightly less than the Iowa's 16-inch guns, right? At 14,400. Anyway, secondary armament, 100 millimeter 55 caliber CAD MLE 1945s. You get 24 of those, reaching out to 6.3 kilometers with a 3-second reload, firing HE with a maximum damage of 1,400 and a 5% chance to set fires. Now, 6.3 kilometers, I believe, is right there around the neighborhood of the Massachusetts, maybe slightly less. I think Massachusetts is either 6.5 or 6.7 base. So the fact that this has a base range of 6.3 means that they're going to be useful, but I wouldn't go full like secondary build. These secondaries are nice when things get in close, but you don't need to necessarily shove them all the way out to like 9 kilometers. But anyway, secondaries, you have the 152 millimeter 55 caliber MLE 1936s as well. You get 9 of those, doing reaching out to 6.3 kilometers as well with a reload of 12 seconds. HE shell maximum damage 2,200 with a 12% chance to set fires. AA defense is pretty solid. 20 millimeter 70 caliber Oerlikon Mark 24s. You get 20 of those, reaching out to 2 kilometers, doing 61 damage per second. Then the 37 millimeter 70 caliber ACAD MLE 1936s. You get 24 of those, doing 145 damage per second, reaching out to 3.5 kilometers. Then you have the 100 millimeter 55 caliber CAD MLE 1945s. You get 24 of those, doing 178 damage per second, reaching out to 5 kilometers, which is nice. For that amount of AA to be reaching out to 5 kilometers is pretty nice. But then you have the 152 millimeter 55 caliber MLE 1936s. You get 9 of those, only doing 25 damage per second, reaching out to 5 kilometers as well. So out to 5 kilometers, you actually have a total of just over 200 damage per second, which is pretty nice, to be honest, at 5 kilometers. Maneuverability, maximum speed with this, because we're running gyrating drill bit, has been reduced to 28.8 knots. Of course, you're going to have a nice little engine boost, so if you're running engine boost, that's going to go up decent amount. I want to say it's 31 to 32 knots, somewhere in that neighborhood. Turning circle is very familiar to me because it's basically Iowa. You got a 910-meter turning circle with a 14.1 second rudder shift with this build. Again, very familiar for me. So this does handle a lot like an Iowa in terms of its maneuverability. Concealment detectability by sea is 13.1 with this build. Remember, we are running the concealment mod. Detectability by air is 11.4. Guaranteed is always 2. And the detectability while firing in smoke is 13.9. So let's get into the armor. The armor is not amazing in this ship, but it's better than it looks. So on face value, if you look, you can see it's pretty much all 32 millimeters. The entire ship is coated in 32 millimeters, which is going to be a problem when you're up against high tier HE, just because you're going to take a lot of HE penetrations from pretty much all of the cruisers that shoot at you at that point. However, what makes it better is the fact that it's actually a turtleback. Look at that turtleback right there. That surprised me. So if we get rid of the extra armor on the outside and we just look at the, oops, I got rid of the wrong thing. We just look at the turtleback armor and the citadel, you can see that it is a pretty solid turtleback armor. It's going to keep you from getting citadeled up close, so keep that in mind, but you're still going to take a crap ton of damage. However, there is a nice little caveat to this that's going to get you into trouble, and that is something that most people can exploit when they're going against it. So if we zoom all the way in, you can see, whoops, I got rid of the turtleback. The turtleback starts and stops, obviously, right where the citadel starts and stops. So what that means is, if you get an angle, say they're coming around a corner of an island, you could potentially punch right through the 32 millimeter side plating and go right into that raised citadel, because it is a raised citadel, which is really unfortunate. You can see it is decently out of the water for a battleship. So the fact that it has a raised citadel means that you can easily punch through at that nice little angle as you come around an island. So that's something you got to pay attention to. You got to know that that's a weakness and try to avoid getting punched. However, this thing does actually have a decent amount of survivability, and we're going to showcase some of that in this one as well. Fast, above average maximum movement speed, we already talked about that. Nimble aim, above average main battery traverse speed, which is actually a big deal in this. I'll show you guys in the video. I've got a really spicy game for you guys. In Guns Aplenty, allows for a high number of gun, allows for a lot of damage from a single salvo. It's got those French magic bullets, and it gets 12 of them. So, yeah, nasty. And everybody always talks about the 15-inch guns at high tiers not being able to do much. Well, the French are the exception to that rule because of their high-velocity guns. Like, these things have more penetration than you expect out of a 15-inch gun, and they will absolutely blap the crap out of you if you give them an opportunity. So, Alsace, a battleship designed and developed in France in response to construction of the German H-class battleships. The ship was a development of the Richelieu class, but in contrast to her predecessor, she had more powerful artillery that was arranged according to a more reasonable scheme. One of the design versions received 12 380mm guns that were placed in 3 main turrets. She was designed in 1939. So, let's take a look at it. Honestly, out of all the French battleships so far in the game, I think this is probably the best looking. It's a very conventional sort of design, and like the game says, reasonable. The quad turrets actually look proportional on this ship, so they don't stick out as like being way too big. And then look at the silhouette. The silhouette's actually pretty nice. You got the main gun at the back, and the super firing 15-inch set, or 150 millimeters, 15 centimeter guns that are super firing over the front and the rear. So it just adds to a nice little stair step. Kind of reminds you of that Atlanta-esque sort of silhouette. It just looks good. It just looks really nice. But yeah, this camo is fire on the ship, and I know that's too hot to handle, right? That's the name of the camo. It's I like it. I like it a lot. Let's just put it that way. But overall, it's a good-looking design. I actually like the look of this a lot better than most French battleships, especially the high-tier battleships. And with this camo, and then the game that I had in it, I'm liking this ship a lot. So on that, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Trap, and we are going to be in a doozy of a fight. We're going to be up against all sorts of things that are intending to do us harm. And we are going to rise above. despite having probably the worst destroyer players that I've had in quite a while that spawned with me. Now, I'm not saying this to be a jerk to the destroyer players. I'm sure they had a plan. I don't know what their plan was, but I have a gearing that spawns right off the bow of me, and I have a Shima who spawns mid who comes over to help my side. Now, Shima, in its defense, does end up giving me will to rebuild later, but that's it. That's pretty much all he does during this match. I think he does end up killing the destroyer later with a torp meant for a battleship, but other than that, that's pretty much it. So let me show you guys just what this thing is capable of as we jump in the Alsace and we get into our very first match. This is literally the first match I took out in this thing, and I'm already really enjoying this ship. Now, keep that in mind, it is a very small sample size, the smallest sample size. I have literally played one game in this thing. I'm already liking it. It's got decent survivability. It's got great guns that you would expect out of the French battleships. Those high-velocity 15-inch guns just slap. The French magic bullets are real. Now you can see gearing immediately goes forward, turns left, dumps torpedoes, and then runs away. Like, that's his entire game plan. I don't understand it. Considering he's a gearing, he should be anti-destroyer, should be able to easily just rush in and kill pretty much any destroyer he runs into. But that's not what he does. Now, we're going to push off to the right side. We're going to get detected early because of their destroyer. And I can kind of guess where their destroyer's at. And I'm paying attention to the horizon over there so that we see shells coming when they actually do. And you can see I am turning out expecting shells to be coming anytime. Musashi gets spotted. Why would he get spotted? Because he fires his guns. So, of course, Musashi firing his guns, we're already turned away. His shells all fall short. So you love to see that. He's going to come around the island, so we go ahead and wait for a clearing, and then we take our shot at him as he comes around the island. And he's not going to be able to avoid these because he's not going to see him come until the very last second, and we get a very good first result on a slightly angled Musashi, 13,500 damage. And that's going to tell you pretty much everything you need to know about these 15-inch guns. They slap. Like, just like the Jean Bart, just like the Richelieu, if you give these things a chance, these 15-inch guns will punish you. They will punish you. Now, we're angled halfway decent there. We do take a couple of pins from the Musashi to be expected. And now, as he starts turning back towards the island, I'm going to start turning back in as well. We do have the engine boost running. I know that there are DDs here. We did pick up another overpin, but didn't do much damage there. That's when the gearing starts firing on us, and this is where that 32 millimeters of armor, it really does kind of suck, because even the gearing is able to do serious damage to us with his penetrations from his HE. And then on top of that, he's getting fires, and then I take a torpedo because he launched widespread torpedoes. So despite the fact that we were actively trying to change course as hard as possible, those widespreads from that distance, I mean, it's difficult to figure out where those torpedoes are going to end up. And you can see we do manage to dodge all but one torpedo out of his first salvo. But he is setting us on fire here. And Musashi is punishing us. So we're in a situation where we need to hold our fire, not do anything crazy, and that's when I recognize that there's a Shima right here. And the Shima is firing his guns blindly into the smoke. I get detected because clearly the gearing comes out of his smoke. It's not the gearing, well, I guess it could be the gearing that's over there, but it's not. It's going to be the gearing that's coming out of his smoke right in front of us. He's going to fire his guns at somebody, and that lights him up, which then allows me to punish him. And here's where we get to showcase the main gun accuracy, taking over half his hit points with AP. That was 7 overpins. And the secondaries are going to start firing because he's within that 6.3 kilometer range. And you're going to see that the secondaries are no joke. Even without a secondary-centric build, these secondaries are decently accurate. They slap, and they will tear apart destroyers that decide to get a little too close. Those 100 mils reload relatively quickly, and the 150s slap when they hit, and then we're able to finish them off. Now, we are expecting torpedoes here, so we angle away to give ourselves a little bit more time, and then we're going to turn in just a little bit to give us a little bit faster, like, get away from where we expect his torpedoes to be. And, yeah, it's going to be very, very close, boys. We do have a heal. We're going to go ahead and use that. And we are pushing towards the island. You can see, oh my god, we got to race the torpedoes. Race them! Come on, Alsace! We believe! Yep, that's why we do what we do. You gotta race the torpedoes. Now watch what my freaking Shima does. Now obviously he's got to dodge those torpedoes that we just dodged. He should have a little easier time doing it than me. But he's not going to spot. This guy just refuses to do anything when it comes to being a destroyer. Like, he acts like he's a freaking Kaba or something, where he just wants to sit at 13 kilometers and fire his guns. It is the weirdest Shima player I've ever played with. Like, he doesn't spot anything. He does end up getting a torp hit, but I think that's more of an oopsie than anything. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. But you can see, I realize that this guy's not going to do anything, so I've got to try to do it myself. Now, what I wasn't anticipating was that the destroyer that just captured Bravo is coming over to help this Musashi. At this point, I figure at close quarters, I got a chance against a Musashi. We've been able to flank the island relatively well. If we can get a good chance over here on this Musashi, we should be okay. Now, I didn't want to come around this corner because I don't know exactly where the Musashi is. I want some intelligence data. I would love to have a destroyer that actually spotted, but clearly he's not planning on doing so. But at least if he's not going to spot, he's going to be close enough to give me will to rebuild, so if I need it, it's there. Now, with that being said, we're very hesitant to come around the next island. Like, it's very... I'm aware that I'm probably going to get punched here. We know it's 32 millimeters everywhere, so we know this Musashi clearly can overmatch us and just tear us apart. We do have 35,000 hit points. He is over-angled here, and this is where I start going, okay, well, I can punish this guy. This guy's clearly not the best in terms of playing the Musashi. We get out, we get our front guns out, and I'm expecting a Citadel here at least, but we didn't. We actually ricocheted 4 shells off of the rear quarter panel of that Musashi, which is not ideal. And that's when the Hayate comes out, and the Hayate obviously trying to torp us, so we're going to turn away. We don't have our engine boost going right now. We do have the rear guns, so we fire them at him. And he's in range now for the secondaries to kick off, but we don't have our secondary booster. We are going to take a torp here. Fortunately, it's just one. We take it on the belt, so that torpedo reduction coming in clutch for us. And the secondaries firing at him, us firing our main guns at him. We've got him down below half his hit points. And you can see the secondaries still landing solid as he gets around the island. Now, watch what happens next. The Shima obviously is firing his guns at this guy, which is, I mean, at least he's doing something. He's not just not playing. But he is going to dump some torpedoes here. The last thing I want to do is come rolling around this corner. Like, I know there's a Musashi there waiting for me, but I have no idea what this Musashi's doing. And our Shima is not in a hurry to actually spot anything. So this is actually one of those times where having the ability to have a catapult fighter would actually have come in handy, because he spots me with this plane in a moment, and I don't get to spot him, but fortunately our destroyer does have the Musashi spotted, and that kind of tells me what he's doing. So I'm expecting this Musashi to do one of two things. Now, I'm clearly spotted, so he knows that I'm waiting for him. Now, he's either going to try to rush straight through where he knows the torpedoes from that Shima are, or he's going to sit there and wait. Now, obviously, somebody just killed the freaking destroyer that was there, and I don't know if that, I think it was the Shima behind us that managed to kill him, so there's that. But yeah, destroyer's dead, so that means it's just a Musashi. I have 21,000 hit points. If I can get around this corner, we do have our engine boost. If I can get around this corner and survive the hit that I'm going to take, he's only going to have, what I'm assuming he's doing is turning bow out. He knows that I'm facing this direction, so if I'm likely to come around the island, it's probably going to be this direction. So in his mind, he's like, okay, I'll sit here, bow in. He's not going to be able to screw me over. I've got 2 guns forward. He comes around the corner. He's low health. I might be able to kill him. That's what he's thinking. In my mind, I survived this hit, hopefully, because of the turtleback armor. And when I survive this hit, I'm going to be able to depth strike this Musashi. And sure enough, we're about to find out. As he shoots the turtleback area of the ship, so we don't get citadeled, we survive, and that allows us to do the dirtiest dirty to a Musashi or Yami that you're ever going to get, which is wait for the opportunity and go straight through the broadside for 6 citadels and a depth strike. Owie. Yeah. And on top of that, because we're close enough to our Shima buddy, yeah, we end up getting will to rebuild. which is going to allow us to continue to fight. We took the hit, and now we get to will back. And again, I'm not one for like abusing will to rebuild, but in a situation like this where you get a will to rebuild after you take a big hit like that, we're going to be able to attack this Montana. We're going to be able to attack the Conqueror and stuff moving forward. We already got 2 kills. We got 117,000 damage. We take the shot at the Montana. It looks like it's going to be pretty solid. And wait for it. Yep. We Citadel the Montana. And we turn in to try to negate as much damage from the Montana as possible. We take a single overpin for 1,441, and we put ourselves in a position to attack both the Ibuki and the Conqueror from here on out. Now, Ibuki is reversing and is angled, so I'm like, oh my god, this is beautiful. So we aim ahead of him, assuming he's going to go forward. I didn't aim far enough ahead of him, I don't think, here. So you can see, actually, that was a pretty solid hit. We ended up getting 2 overpins. They landed a little bit high, but that was a solid aimed shot. They were at least center of mass if they were a little bit high. But Conqueror, we get the rear guns away on the Conqueror. That's going to do a little bit of damage, 5,600. Front gun's going to be much better here. We're aiming waterline. I should have aimed a little higher here. He is coming towards us, so that is going to aim a little high. And we do get a nice little shot in through the side. Not the best shot in the world, but his next shot, clearly, I'm expecting he's going to punish us here. He's got HE loaded for all the destroyers that he's been fighting, and he's a Conqueror, so he's probably just shooting HE anyway. You can see our 150mm guns already starting to fire over the bow. And then we turn out expecting him to shoot HE at us. He gets a nice hit, and then we aim superstructure, and French magic bullets versus superstructure is absolutely devastating. Dude, I don't know why the French get so much damage against superstructures, but they always do. They always do, and it's been that way forever. But yeah, we absolutely annihilated that man's superstructure, and then we've got the Ibuki here, and at 7 kilometers with French high-velocity AP, I think we all know about how this is about to go. We've got 4 kills, 160,000 damage. We got front guns on target. Wait for it. Pow! Our second dev strike, our quack, and we end up with, what was it, 187,000 damage, I think? Let's see what we got. Come on, Spartan. Go forward. You can do it. I believe. There we go. 187,000 damage. Dreadnought, Kraken, High Cow, Dev Strike ×2. All the things. Top of the leaderboard, 3,000 base XP. Not a bad start to the career of the Alsace. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button. Leave a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, I will see you in the next video.